This is my confession to the world. I will start from the present. In this current lifetime, I incarnated on the 10th of July 1984 in a relatively poor Southern African country into a relatively modest family, and I was named Martin Jr. Kenny. Like many today, my avatar was raised in a somewhat chaotic and dysfunctional family. I will spare you the details. Suffice to say, I experienced an emotionally and psychologically turbulent childhood. But please don't be sympathetic. Those experiences were necessary, if not crucial, to shape my path for the mission I am here to complete. The family I incarnated into was very religiously embedded in the Christian faith. From the age of about 12, I developed a mild fear of dying at the age of 33. In my later years as an adult, I reasoned this phobia as simply a psychological coping mechanism induced through my connection with the story of the biblical Jesus who died at the age of 33. Although this reasoning somewhat consoled me for a while, deep down that fear never left. It lingered deep in my subconscious as a young adult, and finally resurfaced with full force in the year 2016, the year I turned 32. I subsequently fell into a deep depression. Life did not make sense. Nothing made sense. At the time, I thought I was going through some kind of midlife crisis. Had it not been for the fact that I had a beautiful wife and 2 beautiful young children, I probably would have taken my own life. This deep state of depression lasted for 3 months, starting just before I turned 32 and ending just after, from June to August 2016. On the 6th of August 2016, something profound happened to me. I died. Not physically, but consciously. This is the date I began my awakening. This awakening was triggered by a series of coincidental personal events in my life at that time. Once again, I will spare you the details. Suffice to say, within 3 weeks after the 6th of August 2016, I was born again. I could no longer continue living, thinking, and being the way I was. Everything changed. I literally no longer saw the world the same again, both physically and metaphysically. My relationship with food changed. I could no longer consume animal products. These are not decisions I made, they are decisions that happened to me. I was immediately compelled to going on a fast. This fast lasted for 21 days. During these 21 days is when I broke the spell I had cast on my soul 473 years prior to that date. Let me explain. Back in 2016, I could never have imagined the journey and mission I was and am still currently on. Up until the 12th of January 2020, I did not know much of what I'm about to reveal and share with you. You see, my journey in this realm of earth did not begin in this lifetime. My journey actually began about 547 years ago. In the year 1473, on the 14th of February, I incarnated into this realm for the first time. I was birthed in a small town called Toruń in the Prussian district in the country of Poland. I took my first breath on the 19th of February 1473 and took my last breath 70 years later on the 24th of May 1543. I incarnated into a relatively wealthy family of merchants, which paved the way for the dark spell of influence I would impart on the whole world and indeed on myself for the next 470 years after my death. During my life in this first avatar incarnation, I was regarded a polymath or universal man, which means, and I quote, one whose knowledge spans a significant number of subjects, known to draw complex bodies of knowledge to solve or create specific problems. Close quote. Today, in this current lifetime, I regard myself as a syncretist, which is essentially the same thing. Back in the 14 and 1500s, just like today, my fields of interest were astronomy, law, economics, mathematics, medicine, and politics. During this first incarnation, I was and still am best known for formulating a model of the universe that placed the sun rather than the earth at the center of the universe, the heliocentric model. I am, or rather was, Nicholas Junior Copernicus. Now, I know some of you are probably scoffing, laughing or mocking this information I'm sharing. But like I said earlier, that's neither here nor there. What I'm sharing is not for you, but rather for me. This disclosure is necessary for my own soul's karmic closure. It is the last public duty I must perform to break the cursed karmic spell I have carried over many lifetimes. This is why I incarnated in this lifetime. To begin reversing the heliocentric spell I helped to cast over the world 400 years ago, as well as to absolve the subsequent personal karmic debt I induced on my soul. In 1473, I incarnated as a dark avatar, commonly known as Nicholas Junior Copernicus. At the time, my soul's purpose was to help trigger a series of events that would ultimately, literally, reshape the world from its original true geocentric form to the modern, widely accepted false heliocentric form. 441 years later, in 1984, I reincarnated as a light avatar with the sole objective to do the exact opposite. Help reverse the damage I had helped create. This timeline from my first to my current incarnation is extremely crucial. The time lapse from when my first avatar, Nicholas Junior Copernicus, transcended or died in 1543 to when my current avatar, Martin Junior Kenny, incarnated is 441 years. If we mirror reverse 441, we get 144. Those of you familiar with the 144 numerology will know that this number is a crucial activation code. This code is hidden in various scripts like the Bible, the elect 144,000, as well as other esoteric sources. In effect, when I birthed into my current avatar to reverse my karma after the death of my first avatar, I finally reversed my 441 years of karma, activating my 144 solar ascension code. Before I continue, I feel it may be necessary for me to add a literal numerological context and insight with relation to alchemy, magic, and spellcasting. Now, 3, 4, and 7 are crucial alchemical numbers when it comes to alchemical spellcasting and magic in general. 3 represents the Holy Trinity. It is the C number where we begin to see form. 3 joint angles create the first geometric shape, a triangle. 3 is the key or spark that ignites and unlocks soul or solar code. This is why the third chakra is the solar plexus. It is a fire element personified as a triangle. We could also say 3 is the first magical number. It ignites creation and destruction. It is the Pyra or fire number represented by the color golden yellow. 4 represents form. It is where space, time, and matter begin. When we add another dimension to a 3-sided angle or triangle, we create the first Platonic structure, a pyramid. D is the 4th letter where dimension begins. A pyramid, which is a 4-sided triangle, is where multi-dimensional space of time and matter begins. 4 is the heart chakra. It is the center where all space, time, and matter emanates from, represented by the color green. The 4th chakra, the heart, is the air element, personified as a 6-sided star, known as the Star of David, which is 2 interlocking triangles, one pointing up and one pointing down. The upward pointing triangle represents feminine energy or spirit. The downward triangle represents masculine energy or matter. The union of these 2 energies is what manifests any reality emanating from the intended heart space or center of where it's being projected from. 7 is the completer. It is the G number. It represents completion of creation. We might think of 7 as the number that locks any spell into completion. 7 is the crown chakra, the pineal gland, the pinnacle energy represented by the color ultraviolet. It is the ether or spirit element personified as the 1,000-petal lotus. 3, 4, and 7 are the Holy Trinity for creating and destroying karmic and subconscious spells within our current realm of space, time, and matter. They are the foundation to all spells, alchemy, and magic. Think of 3 as the key to unlock, 4 as the lock itself, and 7 as the handle that opens and closes the door. Now, these numbers operate in both the physical and metaphysical realms of space and time. In our current physical paradigm, these numbers manifest as clues to guide us individually and/or collectively, subconsciously and consciously. They can manifest in signs, symbols, books, dreams, and many other physical sources. Now, as I stated earlier, the heliocentric spell was cast over 400 years ago, and my first avatar, Nicholas Junior Copernicus, was a pivotal anchor to locking in that spell. The spell was locked into place on the day I, as Nicholas Junior Copernicus, transcended or died. In doing so, I subsequently cursed my soul for 441 years. Like I said, my personal 144 Ascension Code was released 441 years later, absolving the curse and reversing my karma. However, the breaking of the heliocentric spell was not set into motion until the 4 and 7, heart and crown, were conjunct. This happened in 2013, which was 470 years after the death of my avatar, Nicholas Junior Copernicus, in 1543. This is why the first Flat Earth video was allowed to be publicly released in 2013, triggering the subsequent and slowly ongoing disintegration of the heliocentric spell. However, the breaking of the spell could not be complete until my own spiritual chains were spiritually absolved. My personal karmic spell was officially broken on August 2016. This is the day I began my awakening. My solar self was reborn and activated to begin the work of reversing the damage I had helped to spark more than 400 years prior. This rebirth process locked into place in 2016 because 2016 was 473 years after my first death as Nicholas Junior Copernicus, which is when the spell was initially locked into place. In 2016, 473 years later, the Heart 4, Crown 7, and Solar Trinity 3 were aligned, thus beginning the unlocking and restoration of that which was distorted. This current revival of our true cosmology had to be completed by me, as I was the one carrying the spell. However, even though 2016 was the year my solar memories were activated, the complete restoration of our true cosmology did not happen until 2017, 1 year after my awakening, when I began remembering and subsequently publicly publishing the geocentric toroidal or cosmic egg model, as they called it, prior to the heliocentric spell. I was only able to begin remembering this cosmology in 2017, 474 years later, when the Grid 44 cycle was completed by the 474, Heart, Crown, Heart. The two hearts are the heliocentric spell on the Earth and my own subsequent cursed spell as a result of my direct influence. Both heart spells, 44, were absolved when my crown pineal gland 7 was finally opened and was allowed to finally end the 474 heliocentric cursive spell. However, it's not quite over. The entire spell reversal will be finally completed at the end of 2020. 2020 is the year of 4, the year of reform, when the heart or earth will be reformed to its original state. 2020 will be 477 years after the death of Nicholas Junior Copernicus in 1543. 4 heart, 7 crown, 7 crown. The earth will once again be fully restored to her crowning glory. Both spells will now be officially crowned or burst open like a lotus flower, unveiling and revealing for all to see. This public disclosure and confession of what I helped to do 477 years ago is my final absolution from the Vatican spell and completion of my own personal 7-cycle reformation. The other 7 spell absolution will be completed later this year when the Vatican Church, current holders of the other half of the spell, publicly disclose the heliocentric deception. So why now? Well, because it's cosmically the right time. There is a time season, and reason for everything in the universe, dictated by the natural universal elements that govern all time, space, and matter, namely the sun, moon, planets, stars, and energies that govern, revolve, and rotate all around us. I would also like to highlight that this story is not just about me. There are many other moving parts involved, and many of us who have incarnated at this time to absolve and resolve our karmic debt in order to move on. The stars and celestial energies are aligned for a cosmic shift. Now is the time for the great apocalypse, the great remembrance. It's time for us to awaken and rise out of the ashes, out of the dark past and into a brighter future. We are turning a cosmic cycle, and it's time for thy will to be done on earth as it is in heaven. Our past sins or signs of nature can now be forgiven if we accept the call. On the 6th of August 2016, I accepted the call. Since then, over the last 3 years, I have paid my karmic debt with my dedicated service to restoring the truth I once helped to strip away from the world 477 years ago. Now, whether you believe me or not, I hope you find it in your hearts 4 and your minds 7 to forgive me for my past transgressions, even though there really is nothing to forgive, because it is what it is. However, from the depths of my own heart, my 4, and the heights of my crown, my 7, I love you all. Thank you, and goodbye for now. for us to start co-creating, what we want. We've got to start manifesting what we want, not the superficial stuff. What soul's desires. What soul's desires. Wow. I'm sure you can appreciate that what I've just shared with you is extremely personal and difficult to share, but equally it was extremely necessary for me to get that off my chest for reasons I've already explained in the presentation. Suffice to say, as you can tell, my 2020 has kicked off in apocalyptic fashion. The 12th of January, during the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, my world was turned upside down, inside out, and reverse. And I'm grateful for it. The information I've just shared with you is probably not relevant for many of you, but for me it was extremely relevant and therapeutic for my soul and for my journey. It gave me a lot of closure. It answered a lot of questions that I had, personal questions. And I'm grateful to the universe, even though the answers weren't the answers I was expecting. Nevertheless, I am grateful for that closure. Now that we got that out of the way, I am looking forward to sharing what else I unveiled and discovered and remembered during my time in Australia. Uluru was a very magical place. There's no words to explain the magic of that place. In my next video, I will be sharing with you some new information with regards to Australia, the Aboriginal people, the Lemurians and Palladians of the Mars realm beyond the Antarctic Circle. I'll also be sharing some new revelations with regards to amendments to the Cosmic Egg model. Some crucial amendments that will shed some light and definitely make more sense with regards to our toroidal field cosmology. So I'm looking forward to sharing that information with you. So there is a lot to chew on. I appreciate that a lot of the information in this video was extremely heavy and difficult maybe for a lot of you to understand or follow. Thank you anyway. We're here. 2020. The year of reform. The year of the Great Reformation. I, for one, am certainly looking forward to walking this journey with you. Thank you for your continued love and support. I love you all. Goodbye for now.